Hi, the purpose of this video is to show you some of the supplies and process for bottle feeding should you find a litter of kittens. One of the first things that you should be aware of is that usually litters of kittens are not abandoned by their mothers intentionally. Usually the mom cat is taking a break. So if you find a litter of kittens, the first thing you should do is leave them alone and see if you can find the mother cat. If after several hours you are not able to find the mother cat, she may have gotten lost or may have become distracted, and only at that point should you attempt to bottle feed babies. So some of the supplies that you might need first of all when you're bottle feeding is of course a bottle with a set of nipples. You'll want to be sure to keep this clean. Of course you'll need some formula. At Austin Pets Alive we use KMR formula, which is available either online or at stores like Petco. One thing you should know is whatever formula you start using, that should be the only formula that you use. It just keeps the kittens' tummies used to the food that they're ingesting. Some of the other things that you might need that you could get from your vet would be some syringes, a couple of different varieties here that vets often have. You'll also need some cotton balls, and I'll talk about these various supplies and how you would use them. You could even get some baby food as kittens are a little bit older and transitioning to food. Baby wipes. If you have a baby wipe warmer, that's also useful, but it's not required. Of course, you'll need some paper and pen, some other soft blankets, and most importantly, you'll need a container to keep the cats in. This is a hamster cage. It keeps kittens, small kittens contained. You can also use a carrier if you have one that's nice and secure with a door that shuts and locks on it. You'll also want to have blankets and lots of other clean towels and other things available. So when kittens are full, you can cover up their cage and they'll just go to sleep. Depending on the age of the kittens that you have, depends also on how often you need to feed them and what you need to feed them. These kittens here are about 2.5–3 weeks old, so they're going to be needing to be fed every 2 to 3 hours. So one of the first things that you'll do when you're caring for the kittens, and you can tell their age typically if their eyes are open, they're at least 10 days old. These kittens are still under the 4-week mark because they still have bear-cut ears, and their ears are a little bit lower on their head. So it's important to keep the kittens warm. So kittens that are cold won't eat, and kittens that are fed cold formula won't be able to digest it. So you'll make sure that the kitten is kept warm and the formula is kept warm. And there's essentially 2 ways to feed a kitten. They should be on their belly or upright, but never should they be on their back like you would feed a human baby. So in this instance here, she's latched on pretty quickly. If you're having difficulty with the kitten latching on, then that's when you would use the syringe, either with a nipple on the end of it or without. You should always see bubbles coming up directly here. If you don't, you can just slightly turn the nipple on the end so that it's just a little looser. And of course then kittens eat vigorously when they're hungry. Oftentimes you'll notice that their ears twitch, so that's a good sign as well that they're eating. And it's important also to keep a record of how much the kitten has eaten, either by reading the lines on the bottle or reading the lines on the syringe. And another method, just to ensure that the kitten actually ingested some rather than getting it all over their face, is to weigh them. And you should be sure that you use a scale that weighs in grams. And in some cases, kittens won't stay on the scale, so you can affix a container and just use tape and tape it down to weigh the kitten. You'll want to record the daily weights of the kitten, maybe a couple of times a day. Over time, you'll be able to ensure that the kitten has actually gained some weight. Baby kittens up to about 3.5–4 weeks old are not able to go to the bathroom on their own. So one thing that you will also need on hand are some cotton balls. I generally like to take 2 cotton balls, and then you can just gently stroke their bottoms, and that will help them urinate as well as poop. And one thing that's important to note is how often the kitten is actually using the potty. It's very common for them to go every single time that you stimulate, and that's good. It also keeps them from going in their crate. So in cases where you actually do get some poop, you might want to use a rubber glove. So just any kind of glove that you have, as long as it's clean. And then of course you can use baby wipes to help wipe the kitten down if you need to. This is also good for wiping the kitten's face, or cleaning out their ears, or any other type of mess they may have made in the crate since the last time that you cared for them. It's important not to bathe kittens even if it's warm water, and even if you use a warm towel to dry them. They can't maintain their body temperature. So it's really important that you resist the urge to give them a bath, because as much as they might be dirty, the last thing you want is for them to become hypothermic. So I mentioned how much you should feed kittens, and of course recording how much they've eaten. Generally, when kittens are about a week old, you want to ensure that over a 24-hour period they've taken in about 32 cc's of formula. Also, in the second week, you can move to every 3 hours of feeding and maybe 4 hours of space overnight, and they'll generally eat about 55 cc's per day. On the third week, they'll move up to about 80 cc's or milliliters of formula, and then by the fourth week, they'll be up to 100, and they'll also start biting the nipple of the bottle. At that point, this is when you can start introducing some baby food, again warmed. Maybe put it on a saucer and mix it with some kitten food. You can also mix the KMR formula with the kitten food as well, and that will be a good transition for them. A couple of other things just to point out. Baby kittens will tend to want to nurse on one another. It's really not a bad thing, except if they're nursing on one of the boy kittens in the litter. So some of the things that you might try would be introducing a stuffed animal that you can put in. Of course, you'll make sure that it's clean. This can serve as an alternative for them nursing. You can also separate the kittens if you find that the male kittens are getting nursed on a lot. It can be fatal to them. It would require some surgical intervention, and again could be fatal if boy kittens are nursed too often. And the last thing is you'll want to be sure that the crate is always kept warm. You can do that either by putting a heating pad underneath a portion of the carrier or crate, keeping it on low and making certain that it's a heating pad that doesn't have an auto shut-off. Another alternative that we use at APA is it's called a Snuggle Safe disc. They're about $30 to $40. You can buy them online. You heat them in the microwave for about 7 minutes, and they're supposed to last about 12 hours. Our experience is that they only generally last about 6 to 8 hours. This one is still a little bit warm, and it was heated several hours ago. But you'll wrap it in blankets and put it inside the carrier or crate with the kittens, and just make sure that the kittens can't come into contact with it, because right out of the microwave it's really hot. Anyway, caring for bottle baby kittens is extremely rewarding. At about 4 weeks, again, they'll wean, and at about 6 weeks they'll get their first vaccinations. But again, you should consult with a vet or a service like Animal Trustees of Austin that can help you with some low-cost medical services. And we wish you the best of luck in raising bottle baby kittens.